We'll begin in a few moments. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the men and women of the United States Air Force and Air Force Recruiting Service pay special tribute to Master Sergeant Brandon Hardaway on his retirement from the United States Air Force. Sergeant Hardaway is closing out a distinguished career of 20 years of loyal and dedicated service to his country and the United States Air Force. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is 314 Recruiting Squadron Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Alexa Kwan. Please stand for the arrival official party. Remain standing for the posting of colors by the Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakers Air Force Armed Guard and playing with the national. Right shoulder up. Up and up. Bird up. 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 Reset. Up. Oh. Close to it. Oh. It is my pleasure to introduce distinguished guests and family members celebrating with us today. Please hold your applause so that everyone has been introduced. We are honored to have the 314 Recruiting Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Alexis Warren, the Squadron Superintendent, Chief Master Sergeant Ronald Vogel, the 314 Recruiting Squadron Production Superintendent, Senior Master Sergeant Tanisha Ross, the 314 Recruiting Squadron First Sergeant Master Sergeant Keith Wood. We'd also like to welcome Master Sergeant Hardaway's wife, Mrs. Hardaway, and his son, Aiden. His father and stepmother, Michael Hardaway and Jerry Hardaway. His sister, Bridget Wood. His mother, joining us virtually, Sherry Voss. And lastly, his father and mother-in-law, retired Navy Chief Petty Officer Robert Hicks and Elizabeth Hicks. We'd also like to welcome all flight chiefs, recruiters, and all other friends and family. On behalf of Master Sergeant Hardaway, thank you all for attending today's special ceremony. On this special day, we gather together to share one of the Air Force's most time-honored traditions, the retirement of one of our own, who has faithfully served the profession of arms. Although the ceremony is simple, it still carries with it the very finest military customs and traditions. The retirement ceremony for Master Sergeant Hardaway is designed to leave him with a tangible expression of appreciation for his contribution to our Air Force and our global life. Furthermore, to salute his accomplishments and assure him and his family that they will be a part of the Air Force family forever. Colonel Kwok,
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. First, I want to welcome all of Master Sergeant Hardaway's friends and coworkers. I would like to extend a special welcome to Master Sergeant Hardaway's family, his wife Katie, his son Aiden, his mother Sherry Voss, his father Michael and stepmother Jerry, his sister Bridget Wood, and his father and mother-in-law, retired Chief Petty Officer Robert Hicks and Elizabeth Hicks. It is a pleasure to have all of you here as we celebrate a culmination of a memorable 20-year Air Force career. Now, I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't adequately depict Master Sergeant Hardaway's tremendous impact on our country's national defense and share some of his story. To set the stage, I want to take you all to the small town of Reading, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cincinnati. Yes, known as Bengals country. Yes, he is a Bengal. When he was 16 years old, he got his first job working at nearby Jack's Aquarium Pets. You might be wondering why we care about a minimum wage job at a pet store. But I received a small nudge to collaborate with Katie to get an anecdote or two that enhance the story and the speech today. So my sincerest apologies if you come to regret that decision. So back to Jack's. It was at that humble pet store where Brandon met fellow employee Katie in early 2001. And this puppy love led to several months of him literally chasing her as a cross-country runner who would coincidentally run past her house during his practices. He planned it that way, didn't he? All right, I'm gonna stop, but we'll go where we didn't plan it. That was the route that he had to run. So after all this chasing, Katie eventually acquiesced and let him escort her home from work. And despite attending rival high schools, they became high school sweethearts. And with Katie's support, Brandon enlisted in the Air Force at the age of 18, 1 month following his high school graduation. He signed his contract and shipped off to basic training, followed by security forces training, security forces technical training at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. Upon completion of his training, he reported to his first duty station at Kirtland Air Force Base, Mexico, as an armed response force member. He married Katie in November 2003, and she joined him in New Mexico. As a young airman, He provided security for over $1 billion worth of assets and $914 million worth of aircraft. His superiors described him as an outstanding airman who consistently demonstrated a positive influence on his peers and superiors alike. Based on his leadership and performance, he was selected for senior airman below the zone ahead of 24 years. As a senior airman, he became underground area supervisor, where he was then responsible for over $2 billion worth of resources and the nation's largest strategic arsenal, and he helped his wing achieve an excellent rating in its nuclear 30 inspection. Notably, it was during this assignment that Katie and Brandon welcomed 8 to the family. Following his time in New Mexico, he went on a remote tour to Kunsan Air Base, Republic of Korea. As a security forces controller, he performed law enforcement and desk sergeant duties. He provided outstanding security for the first ever Kunsan Air Base Air Show, ensuring the safety of over 250,000 people. More importantly, he rapidly coordinated and completed a search for a suicidal airman and averted the loss of life. He was decorated for this heroic effort. After his tour in Kunsan, he returned to the great state of Ohio and was reunited with his incredible family. He was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for 5 years, where he served as an installation patrolman and eventually as a coach. During this tour, he deployed to Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan in 2009, where he led off-base foot patrols through nearby villages. During this deployment, he was engaged in multiple attacks and firefights. He was awarded a commendation medal for saving the life of his interpreter during one such attack. So this trend of heroism continues. Upon completion of this deployment, he returned to Katy Navy back in Ohio, but this homecoming was short-lived, as he was soon called overseas again. So in 2010, he deployed to Balad Air Base, Iraq, where he was an assistant squad leader and led base protection during the closure of the installation. He participated in helicopter quick reaction forces, and during one of these missions, he sustained a significant hip injury. This required multiple surgeries, treatments, and therapies, and became a challenge that he contended with on a daily basis. But I suspect you'll hear more about that story from Master Sergeant Hardaway in his speech. Following his 12 years in security forces, he crossed over into the Air Force recruiting service in 2015. He attended the Air Force recruiting school, where he earned the top salesman award for his class. And after graduating, he went to Georgia as an enlisted accession recruiter for the 336 recruiting squadron down in Statesboro, which, if you don't know Georgia geography like me, it's an hour outside of Stanford. He hit the ground running and became the top recruiter in his flight with 162% of his enlistment contract goal for fiscal year 15. In fiscal year 16, he maintained an astonishing 0% cancellation rate, enabling the squadron to ship 1,855 people, the most in Air Force recruiting service that year. He also earned 3 coveted silver badges for producing at least 115% of his annual needs. In 2017, he joined the mighty 314 recruiting squadron as a tier 2 recruiter, where he was a veritable Fifth Army knife. There is almost no squadron function that Master Sergeant Hardaway hasn't held or positively impacted. These include training and marketing, operations NCO, operations flight chief, G flight interim flight chief, and A flight interim flight chief. The list of accomplishments during his time with the Eagles is lengthy, but I want to highlight some key achievements so you can get an understanding of the impact he made on our recruiting mission and the Air Force as a whole. He formed a relationship with iHeartRadio and Fox Sports Radio to secure high school games of the week events, which boosted the unit's production by 23%. He then led a new processing operations during the pandemic by shipping applicants for multiple squadrons from one mess, a first in Air Force history. He also crushed the ops flight chief position by leading a very understaffed flight and helping the squadron secure the highest qualified and waiting list for the unit. Additionally, he revived A flight, leading 7 recruiters and boosting production by 36%. This effort was instrumental to the squadron winning the 2022 top enlisted sessions and top overall squadron at the Air Force Recruiting Service. Another historical achievement. These accomplishments, among others, earned him the squadron's Lansky Side-Jump Award nomination for leadership, top 8R Support of the Year, Commander's Achievement Award, Senior Entry of the Quarter, and Production Superintendent Achievement Award. What I have just described merely scratches the surface of Master Sergeant Hardaway's achievements. A full accounting would take far longer than the time that I've been allotted. However, there's much more to Sergeant Hardaway than just his performance reports and all the professional accolades he's garnered. He has been an ardent supporter of each community in which he has resided. He dedicated much of his precious time off to support many worthy causes, including the Combined Federal Campaign, Airman's Attic, the Samson Orphanage in South Korea, Afghan children, the Ohio Park Rangers, kids baseball and cross-country teams, animal shelters, and the Wounded Warrior Project. However, if you ask him, his greatest achievement is his family. Katie, Aiden, Sherry, Michael, Jerry, Bridget, retired Chief Petty Officer Hicks, and Elizabeth, thank you for your service and support to your husband, father, son, brother, and son-in-law. He could not have done any of this without you. Master Sergeant Hardaway, you're a remarkable individual. You have persevered in the face of some formidable obstacles, both bureaucratic in nature and service-related. Your grit, dedication, and passion for the mission in our nation should be emulated. You're an amazing leader, airman, recruiter, mentor, friend, son, husband, father, and countless other amazing things. I confidently speak on behalf of everyone here and everyone who couldn't be in attendance today, but really wanted to, when I say thank you for your service to our country and your unrivaled dedication to the Air Force's mission. It was really an honor and privilege to serve with you. Congratulations on your retirement, and we can't wait to hear what what the future holds for your family in your next adventure.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as Lieutenant Colonel Quan presents Master Sergeant Hardaway the Meritorious Service Medal. Attention orders. The United States of America, to all shall see these presents greeting. This is to certify that the President of the United States of America, authorized by Executive Order 16 January 1969, has awarded the Meritorious Service Medal to Master Sergeant Brandon J. Hardaway for outstanding service 12 September 2017 to 22 July 2023. Master Sergeant Brandon Hardaway distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States while assigned to the 314th Recruiting Squadron, Burlington, New Jersey. During this period, Sergeant Hardaway's leadership and adaptability led to his selection as the Operations Flight Chief during an extended vacancy. As a result of his efforts, he secured the highest recruiting numbers for the squadron and earned the Production Superintendent's Achievement Award in 2021. Additionally, Sergeant Hardaway oversaw the military entry crossing station and acquired 200 crossing slots for 77 recruiters, leading to Air Force Recruiting Service's top medium military entry crossing station in 2022. Furthermore, Sergeant Hardaway stepped out of his position again and led the recruiting flight for 6 months, where he motivated his airmen to increase their production by 36% in 2022, enabling the squadron to earn the group's Bob Cantu Most Improved Squadron and Air Force Recruiting Service top enlisted accession squadron in 2022. Finally, Sergeant Hardaway orchestrated 2 Air Force level policy changes directly affecting 3,000 recruiters, earning his unit the top overall squadron in Air Force Recruiting Service in 2022, an accomplishment of the state of New Jersey has never seen. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Sergeant Hardaway culminated a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the publishing of the retirement.
Publishing orders.
Attention order. The Department of the Air Force Special Order Number AC 00 1442, dated 27 March 2023. By order of the Secretary of the Air Force, Master Sergeant Brandon R. Hardaway is relieved from active duty and responsibilities effective 22 July 2023. Signed, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr., United States Air Force Chief of Staff. The certificate of retirement for the Armed Forces of the United States of America to all shall see these presents. Reading, this is to certify that Master Sergeant Brandon R. Hardaway, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the 22nd day of July in the year 2023. Signed, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr., Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, and Major General Edward W. Thomas, Jr., Commander, Air Force Recruiting Service. Every person retiring from active duty is presented special certificates of appreciation for the contributions to the national defense of their country. We will begin the presentations with a certificate from the President of the United States. The certificate of appreciation for service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America, Master Sergeant Brandon R. Hardaway. I extend my personal gratitude and sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you for all your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in armed forces help protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contribute to a world of a greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embody the American ideal of service, selfless service. Our nation owes you our incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you will set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting you for honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in the next chapter. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. May I have a seat? We now have a certificate of appreciation to present Master Sergeant Hardaway from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. I am proud to join your friends and family in congratulating you on your retirement from the United States Air Force. The achievement and contributions you have made throughout your career are indicative of the core values of a great service. Your retirement is well deserved, but your selfless contributions will be sorely missed. On behalf of all airmen, thank you for your faithful, devoted service to our nation. As this chapter in your life closes and a new one begins, I hope that the years ahead are filled with more great memories and continued success. Signed, Joanne S. Bass, Chief Master Sergeant of the United States Air Force. At this time, we would like to ask Mrs. Hardaway to step forward to join Master Sergeant Hardaway in tradition for the spouse's place of Air Force retirement pin on the spouse's lapel to symbolize the transition from active duty to retired status. Mrs. Hardaway, please do the honors. And we also have special recognition from the Department for their own personal contributions. Anyone associated with the armed forces knows the ups and downs of military life affect not only a military member, but also the spouses and children of those members. They must endure frequent moves and extended absences from their loved ones, all the while taking care of their family and home. It is their loving dedication and support that allows us in the profession of arms to serve our country with pride. Katie, the Air Force recognizes that your undying dedication and support have been invaluable to your husband and to the Air Force. This is why we like to honor you today. Lieutenant Colonel Kwan is presenting Mrs. Harvey's certificate of appreciation from the United States Air Force, which reads, in grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents a certificate of recognition to Mrs. Harvey for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to our nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed, Charles Q. Brown, Jr., General, United States Air Force, Chief of Staff. Senator Kwan is now presenting Mrs. Harvey a certificate on behalf of Chief Master Sergeant Air Force. It reads, on behalf of all airmen and their families, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force presents a certificate of appreciation to Mrs. Harvey. I join your spouse, family, and friends in thanking you for the numerous contributions and sacrifices you have made in support of our United States Air Force. Your dedication gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service in defense of our nation. Signed, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Joanne S. Banks. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Kwan. This is Harvey. Mr. Harvey, we're going to move to the presentation of the topics.
You just like it down.
Now get it.
All the points and passion. Good job.
Since the Air Force was created in 1947, we adopted some of the customs traditions and social services. One of those traditions is the tablets. According to some accounts of naval history and tradition, a sailor retires and is on the ship for the last night. It is considered bad luck for sailor's shadow to touch land before permission does. Thus, the sailor shipmates would construct a sturdy box handcrafted with the finest materials in which to display mementos of the sailor's accomplishments, thereby symbolically creating a shadow of the sea. This box as safely contains the sailor's shadow until he or she is safely ashore, at which time the shadow box can be given to the sailor in the presentation ceremony. Historically, when the sailor would join a ship's crew, he would join that ship for his entire career. During the sailor's voyages to ports of call around the world, he would collect many trinkets, souvenirs, and reminders of his travels. Naturally, as a space aboard ship is at a premium, these items tended to be small. When the sailor piped ashore for the last time, his shipmates saw to it that it was a special ceremony box constructed. Those many voyages would simultaneously symbolize the sailor's career and time aboard the ship. Ideally, shadow box would serve not only as a reminder of his achievements and accomplishments, but as an accumulation of the career. Shadow box should enable stranger glancing at its contents and gain a substantial understanding of the owner's past service and achievements. Today, we present the shadow box. Within the shadow box, life and airmen, most honored, cherished possessions. There's the flag of the United States Air Force, representing a lifetime of value and faithful service. At this time, we invite Senior Master Sergeant Ross to the stage to present a gift to Master Sergeant Harvey on behalf of 314 Solutions.
And I want everyone to know that Sergeant Hardaway really has been excellent, such a help to us with the department. All of those accolades, he really has done so much in this help. And I really appreciate it. So, congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to now offer a tribute to Master Hardaway, the flag of the United States. Please remain seated, draw your attention to our retirement ceremony as they move forward our nation's flag. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been a symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing the new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors and flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardness, and valor. White signifies purity and innocence. And blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom, inspiring Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Fellini to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong claimed it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies in constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe, and in the thin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who served our great nation. The sun never sets in the United States Air Force, nor the flag we proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying this flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for our freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands, skies around the world. It is our responsibility, to continue to protect and serve the rights and privileges and freedom that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom that we all share, and pride and patriotism we all feel for that country. We cherish its legacies as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it live. Now is the time, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to present to you Master Sergeant Burke.
Yeah, don't look at it, you can see Brian. Well, I just went faster than I thought it would have taken. I can't count how many of these ceremonies I've attended sitting where you all are, just for me the day that it's my turn to retire. Now that it's here, it's almost too overwhelming. Rule number one today, nobody take a photo if I start tearing up.
Sorry.
First of all, I'd like to thank the individuals who put this ceremony together. Sergeant Dennison, I asked you specifically to lead this effort because we worked together for years and I knew you'd do great. I was right. Thank you for the extra time you spent making this event perfect. It really is. So I really do appreciate it. Sergeant Palaio, like Sergeant Dennison, you and I have worked together for a while, and I'm honored that you volunteered to take your time out to help with Sergeant Dennison. And really, this is all you guys, so I appreciate it. Sergeant Rosthauser, thank you for being the MC for this ceremony. You and I have worked together for several years, probably longer than anyone else in the squadron. And I can't think of anyone else I would want to MC this, so I really appreciate it. Sergeant Stam, you were my partner when I went to 8th Flight, and we worked together for a while, and I'm truly honored to be up here. I really appreciate it. Sergeant Freeman, for taking the photos. I've worked with you a lot. Our amazing CST team for recording this, putting it on Zoom. I really appreciate it. Honor Guard, flag detail, escorts. Thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to help out with this. Lieutenant Colonel Quan. Of all the leaders I've had the privilege of working with over the past 20 years, I could think of no one greater to host the ceremony and officially retire. Most of you don't know the extraordinary lengths that Colonel Quant, Chief Vogel, Senior Ross, Sergeant Whipple, our entire leadership team had to go through to ensure that I could be standing here today. She spoke briefly during her speech and said I would elaborate, but because of injuries, I mean, it was back and forth the last 2 years, whether I would even retire. And I am 100% confident that if there was any other leadership team, I wouldn't be here. So I really do. To my family, both in person, and for those that couldn't be here today, you are the sole reason why I made it to retirement, why I even stuck it out. Mom, hope you can hear this on Zoom. You've always been one of my biggest fans. You've listened when I have bad days and needs events. You've always provided sound guidance and advice. And I could always turn to you if I really needed help, no matter how far apart we were. Dad, for the first half of my life, you were the definition of a hero to me. Growing up, watching you be a firefighter, I idolized the way that you selflessly served others, sometimes at great personal cost. That is one of the defining reasons I joined the military. I wanted to serve my community just as you did. So thank you. Bridget, she's crying. One thing I regret about serving is that I missed so many experiences with you and your kids over the past 20 years. So it wasn't by choice, but hopefully over the next 20 years I can make it up. We got some catching up to do. But thank you so much for coming. The in-laws, Rob and Liz, I'm honored you were able to make this trip. Rob, hearing your stories from the Navy when Katie and I were dating, absolutely helped solidify my decision to join the military. I just couldn't live on a boat for 6 months or something. I'm sorry, but thank you for sacrificing years from your daughter and your grandson to allow us to do this. It must have been difficult, and I'm grateful. To everyone else who took time out of their day, busy day, summer serves. You guys all drove from who knows how far to come see me. Most of us we've worked together at some point, some more than others, but I truly am grateful you guys showed up. Oh, last but not least, Katie, you and I have been a team for this whole ride. Every move we made, I felt confident that you were backing me up. In some ways, you put your parts of your life on hold because of the commitment to us and the commitment to the military. I know I couldn't have made it more than 4 year enlistment. And, yeah, I'm glad you're by my side. Aiden, you are my world. Every deployment, 16-hour shifts, working nights for years, injuries, both physical and otherwise. We're all worth it knowing that I had you and Mom to come home to. You've dealt with moving all over the country, leaving friends, jobs, schools, being separated from our extended family. It wasn't easy. I probably didn't make it any easier sometimes. But you guys joined me in this crazy ride, and there's no way I can ever thank you enough. I love you more than you'll ever know, and especially more than I could ever write. So I wanted to give both of you a small gift because this ceremony is for you just as much as it is for me.
Right after the birthday cry.
You don't have to. There's a part of it, but So, I was excited to start terminal leave so I could enjoy all those perks being a civilian. But after a couple of weeks of not paying, it got to be not having a government cell phone. I thought it was like not having to carry around an iPhone. But now I often miss reading some of those crazy group chats that are going on. So I miss seeing some of the emails, seeing who wins awards. So I do miss that. not wearing a uniform was great, but now I'm almost bored of sweatpants and hoodies. So all those little things that I was desperately trying to get to, kind of overrated. So the one regret I'll mention is not enjoying the ride for what it was, instead of just wishing for the ride to end. Past 2 years kind of helped me think that way, since I want it to end, but now that it's pretty much over, I realized I should have just enjoyed the ride for what it was. I really wanted to keep this short because I hate talking about myself, so I'll end it there. To all the other friends and people I didn't mention, I'll contact you individually. But there's just too many people that have impacted my career. But thanks again, everyone, for being here. It's time to start the next chapter.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Master Hardwick and his family will form a proceeding line for congratulations and best wishes. There will be a small reception immediately following the retiring of the hat. Please rise for the Air Force song and remain standing for the departure of the official.